The palace looks perfect from the outside. The photographs, the ceremonies, the perfectly coordinated appearances. Two sisters walking side by side, always smiling. Princess Leonor, the heir. Infanta Sofía, the quiet strength behind her. But perfection is only the surface. Inside those walls, the reality is far more delicate, far more fragile, and far more human than anyone ever imagines. You expect royalty to float through life untouched. That is the context we all carry. A world of privilege, a world of ease, a world where sadness should have no place. But then comes the contradiction, the part no one wants to face. Even in a palace, hearts can break. Even in a royal family, someone can struggle. And here is the truth that snaps everything back into focus. Sometimes, the weight of a crown is nothing compared to the weight of watching someone you love face battles the world cannot see. This is the story of Infanta Sofía and Princess Leonor. A story not about illness, not about public headlines, but about something deeper. The emotional battles that royal life quietly places on two young sisters. The unseen pressure, the family expectations, the private fears, the constant comparisons, and the truth that even the strongest princess can feel sadness when someone she loves is hurting inside. Leonor and Sofía have always been close. Their relationship was never polished for cameras. It was natural, innocent, and real. As young girls, they clung to each other in crowded rooms. They whispered to each other during ceremonies. They supported each other during their first official engagements. To the world, they were princesses. To each other, they were simply sisters. But something changed as they grew older. Not a moment of crisis, not a dramatic event, but a slow shift. Leonor's path became sharper, clearer, heavier. She was no longer just the older sister. She became the heir, the future queen, the symbol of continuity for an entire nation. And Sofía, she became the one who stands beside the future. A role that is powerful, but also quiet. Beautiful, but often overlooked. You may wonder why that matters. And here is where the first curiosity loop begins. What happens when life chooses the path for one sister, but leaves the other searching for where she fits? Sofía's struggles were never the kind the world talks about. They were internal, silent, the kind of battles that don't make headlines but weigh heavily on a young person's heart. As Leonor stepped further into her royal destiny, Sofía stepped into a new reality. The cameras followed Leonor, the expectations followed Leonor, the pressure followed Leonor, and although Sofía was always right beside her, the world rarely paused to look at her face, to ask how she felt, to wonder what it means to grow up next to a future queen. This is where Leonor's sadness begins. Because Leonor is not just a princess. She is a sister who sees more than the public ever will. She notices the quiet moments, the thoughtful pauses, the times when Sofía goes silent, lost in her own world. The subtle signs that royalty is not just a blessing, but sometimes a burden. The next curiosity rises here. How does a future queen carry her own responsibilities while worrying about someone she loves? The truth is, Leonor has always been protective. Even when she is in uniform, even when she is delivering speeches that move a nation, even when she is shaking hands with leaders, part of her heart is always focused on Sofía. Her anchor, her shadow, her mirror. As the years passed, Leonor's training intensified. She spent long periods away. She faced the expectations of an entire country. She learned the rules, the rituals, the responsibilities that would one day shape her reign. And during those moments, she often felt the ache of distance. The quiet fear that the person she wanted most to protect was facing her own emotional battles without her by her side. Now another question forms. What exactly was Sofía battling? Not sickness, not scandal, something more subtle. The challenge of identity, the pressure of comparison, the struggle of growing up in a role that was defined by her relation to someone else. Leonor, the queen-to-be, walked a straight road. Sofía walked a winding one. And that difference created moments of doubt, insecurity, and questions she sometimes carried alone. Leonor knew this. She felt it. And it broke her heart in ways she never expressed publicly. In family gatherings, she placed herself closer to Sofía. At ceremonies, she whispered encouragement. At appearances, she made sure Sofía felt involved. These small acts were not random. They were signs of a sister who understood. A sister who refused to let distance or duty weaken their bond. Here comes the next curiosity loop. How does a royal family, built on tradition and protocol, navigate something so personal? The answer lies in the private moments. The conversations behind closed doors. The gentle support from their parents. Queen Letizia, fiercely protective. King Felipe, quietly observant. They saw the emotional balance between their daughters, and they worked tirelessly to ensure both girls felt valued, understood, and supported. Still, Leonor carried a unique sadness. She wanted Sofía to shine. Not just as the second daughter, not just as the supportive sister, but as Sofía. A young woman with her own talents, her own future, her own light. And slowly, that light began to emerge. Sofía started showing confidence, grace, and a natural charm that captivated those who paid attention. She developed her own passions. She began shaping her own identity. She stepped out of the shadow not by competing with Leonor, but by becoming fully herself. But emotional battles leave traces. And Leonor felt them deeply. The love she has for her sister is powerful, protective, and unwavering. She feels joy when Sofía grows stronger. She feels pride when Sofía finds purpose. But the sadness remains in the quiet fear every older sister knows. The fear of not being able to protect someone when the world becomes overwhelming. And here is where the story deepens. Because royalty does not erase humanity. Titles do not remove emotions. And cameras do not capture every moment of tenderness, worry, or pain. Behind the elegance, behind the ceremony, behind the perfect posture, there is a young woman who feels deeply. A young woman who knows that leadership is not only about the nation she will one day serve. It is about the people she loves most. As Leonor grows into her role, she carries Sofía in her heart.